Well, guys, so I've been away for a few days. There has been some news I wanted to run you all through. Of course, the big thing is the new patch is out, which I just recently played a couple of days ago, and I've got some really cool things I want to talk to you about, my impressions. Obviously, this release had the introduction of Season 1 coming out as well, so there's all kinds of things going on. But in addition to that, over on the forums, right as I left about 6 days ago now, the devs announced a new feature upcoming to do with legendary weapons, kind of an update with the build template and equipment template system we saw towards the end of last year, which, as you all know, kind of works fairly wonkily with legendary weapons right now. That's really interesting, and I want to run through in this video with you all. There were a couple of other little facts as well that I thought I'd run you against. Number one, yes, because of COVID-19 and the fact everyone's at home and self-isolating and so on, this shouldn't be a surprise to you, but the studio is actually shut at the moment and has been for a bit. I would assume that this is going to affect the rate of upcoming releases, and we will probably see a knock-on effect. I think that's totally understandable. You're going to see a knock-on effect in a ton of places, but the devs did give a post confirming that, yeah, they're shut at the moment. They're not asking people to come in. So that was one thing. And the other minor thing, I guess, was something I've talked about a lot in my videos, but it's nice to actually have confirmed by a forum thread, which I'll read you in just a second. But basically, it's the idea that the Eye of the North hub itself is going to be what they're calling episode agnostic, and will be a hub for the full season, at least, it seems. At least, I mean, maybe even further. And it was kind of something they did in response to how the Sun's Refuge went last season. I mean, that's pretty much exactly what we've been saying and thinking, and they blatantly confirmed it. So over here in this forum thread, someone was asking for the Eye of the North to be added to the Icebrood Saga portal tome. I guess it's not there right now. And Andrew comes in and says, I mentioned this already, but it will be added automatically, so you don't even have to pay for this one, as an available destination in the existing Icebrood Saga portal tome in an upcoming build. And goes on to say, we made Eye of the North unlock for all players, rather than only those who activate this latest episode, as a lesson from working on the Sun's Refuge. Sun's Refuge was a labor of love for the people who worked on it, but it had the downside of being tied to one episode in the season, so continued expansion wasn't feasible. Eye of the North is deliberately episode agnostic and will be available to everyone, so any future content is in a map people can, you know, get to. I also passed on the request to add the Sun's Refuge to the Eye of the North portal. It makes sense. The Eye of the North portal was actually really well done, I think. It lets you go to, say, your home instance. I like the idea that, yeah, anywhere that's of note, particular special note to a character. So for me, my Sylvari has my home at the Grove. I could go there from the Eye of the North, or I could go to my home in the desert at the Sun's Refuge, or, you know, hell, maybe even they added locations for those gem store passes. That would be kind of funny, you know, because I tend to think of the airship that floats in Gandaren as one of my homes for my characters. But hey, so yeah, they are basically going to be updating that as the season goes along. And that's really important, I think, because the Sun's Refuge was badass and had so much stuff going on, but it was just there for that episode. And the second that became clear, I think a lot of us were miffed at the way they'd done it. It's nice to see that they were learning lessons as they went ahead. So yeah, let's get in and talk about legendaries, and I'll give you guys the dev post about this in a second, but let's just be clear. Right now you've got legendaries, weapons and armor and trinkets, which allow you to, at any time, stat swap them. And then also, just before the legendary... just before the build template and equipment template stuff came in, they added legendary runes and sigils, of which I've actually never crafted any of those. Seriously, usually I'll be on top of this kind of stuff, but the legendary runes and sigils are essentially, you know, a rune that can be any rune. You can stat swap the type of rune it is, all the same for the sigil. And while that sounds really cool and really useful, they don't interface with the build template system very well, and the expense for them is very, 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 very high. So generally speaking, even though there's a bit of convenience there, unless you're super mad on unlocking things, it just hasn't felt worth it to me. I am mad on unlocking things, but you don't really unlock those items. They just kind of get slotted in, and I just haven't gone for them. Well, the devs seem to be patching that out now, and I think with this new update, you're going to find the desire to get legendaries will probably go way up for a lot of people. I probably will be in a position after this patch where I will want all my legendary runes, and I will want my legendary sigils, and depending on how well they do the UI and stuff, they could bait me into getting a hell of a lot of other stuff too. So let's run on in. They're calling it the Legendary Armory. It's a post from Fire Attunement, who says, we want to talk a little bit about our plans for the next update that will affect the suite of template features, and gather your feedback about what you hope to see from it. So they did talk a bit about this a while ago, if you guys remember, some of the behind the scenes when the update first came in. They also talked very loosely back then about cosmetic loadouts, which I still like the idea of. And you might remember I did some videos talking about my desires for that. So who knows, after the Legendary Suite, we might see that. They're calling it the Legendary Armory. Here's a quick description of how it'll work. When you bind a legendary item to your account, it gets added to this armory. Any legendary item that is added to the Legendary Armory will become available for use by all the characters across your entire account at the same time. This removes the need for you to swap legendary equipment between characters through your bank or your shared inventory slots. And the feature also comes with updates to equipment template functionality to make it easier to copy the configuration of equipped legendary items from one template to another template on the same character. Here are our goals for the Legendary Armory feature. Make it more valuable to earn and use legendary equipment, while also making it easier to use legendary items with the equipment template feature, to remove the need for players to swap their legendary items between characters, and to make it easier to copy the configuration of equipped legendary items from one equipment template to another template on the same character. So, one of their big ambitions is not listed here that I would have thought they'd be going for, which is just to incentivize players to make more legendaries. Because if you're making legendaries, then you actively have goals in the game, and you're probably going to be playing it a lot longer. One of the biggest issues with Guild Wars is people run out of things to do. But if it's really, really thrilling and worthwhile to get legendaries, then, and you know, at that, even like, say you already have that one legendary focus, you want to get another one, you know, you may have the Minstrel, now you want Ipos. That's only good for the game. So they didn't really explicitly say that, but I have to assume that's one of the whole ambitions and ideas here. But yeah, if you think about it, we already kind of have this feature as far as skins are concerned. When I unlock the Incinerator, I can skin any dagger on any character all over my account to look like the Incinerator, but the weapon itself and that stat swapping functionality, I still have to manually move around. And also, applying the skin all over the place has the cost of transmutation charges. It now sounds to me like, once the armory is in, if I were to say click this sword, if I've crafted Bolt somewhere, Bolt will always be available to select here on the left. It sounds like it's going to be a little bit like that. Or if I, you know, have various legendary shields and I click to equip a shield, it will appear here. And then they're also shoring up this. I think that all sounds really good. It is one of those odd things where, and this has happened every time there's been quality of life for legendary weapons to me, where it feels kind of anti-Guild Wars to me in a way. Legendaries started as this very pure idea of an extreme goal for heavily dedicated players that was in no way necessary to play the game or for everyone to think about. They were like the super hardcore things that only a few people were going for, and the game was a game without them. And as time goes by and legendaries become more lucrative and get more features and more quality of life and all this kind of stuff, you can applaud that, but it also kind of pushes the game more and more and more into a position where it's like, okay, this game is about acquiring legendaries. And I suppose that's somewhat natural to hook people in and keep them playing on a game that's, you know, increasing in years in its age, and it needs more reasons for people to continue playing. So I suppose it's a natural development, but it is curious to me just how far we will go here, where eventually it feels like the most economical thing to do is to just rush legendaries as fast as possible. Think about it. If once this goes through, you've kind of unlocked full weapons that you never have to look at the Ascended tier, or the Exotic tier, or the Masterwork tier, or the Rare tier ever again, because now you've got that part of your armory. And the idea really will be, okay, do you want to fill the whole armory in? That's going to mean a lot for completionists, people like me, but I do wonder about people who are kind of caught behind that. So that's the blunt side of it. But what I'd also like to see with this feature is maybe we find something else we can click here in the hero panel, like an armory itself. So when I hit the armory up, maybe I get like a nice grid view or something, perhaps a little bit like when we're at the bank and we have, you know, all the boxes representing various swords that we have or something, but it's just full legendaries and you can see them fill in. If I actually get like a whole panel where it's like, okay, this slot here represents Shushadu, and I don't have Shushadu yet, but when I get it, it will fill in and maybe it will animate slightly and glow a bit, and it'll be like, there you go, that's in your armory now. Finish the armory. I think that'll feel really, really rewarding and really hook me into playing a hell of a lot of Guild Wars. So yes, it's kind of a part functionality update, it's a quality of life update, but I think it's something that will actually get people in for a very, very long time. And perhaps importantly too, this will be the first time that I am interested in getting legendary runes and legendary sigils, which I acknowledge were a cool update, but just not integrated cleanly enough for me to really think that they were worth it. Now, even though they're super expensive, just the idea of having a legendary rune that's automatically on all my characters all at once, like, that's huge, guys. That is really, really big. And though they don't explicitly talk about legendary runes and sigils in that post, I'm assuming they'll go into the armory. And when they do, it'll be like, okay, make your 6 runes, and now you bypass all rune economies forevermore. I mean, isn't that a bit crazy? Maybe they won't do that. That has to be kind of nuts. Maybe you don't need to make 6. Maybe you need to make 18. 1 for all 3 armor sets. That brings me on to my last point with this as well. For the super nerds out there who have made not just a full set of legendary armor of light, medium, and heavy, right? They've already made 18 pieces. But for the super nerds that have gone even further than that, and they have like multiple sets of light legendary armor, just so that they don't have to swap it from character to character to character, those guys will lose value on this patch, because essentially what they're going to be told once this patch comes out is, oh, you didn't need to do that, by the way, because now the functionality is coming by default. So, you know, that's a bit of a shame, I guess, but we're talking about a tiny proportion of people, such a small proportion, that frankly, they don't matter, and I don't think it really should hinder the design that the devs are going for here. But yeah, so I did want to talk to you guys about that. That's a legendary armory that will hopefully be coming at some point as the saga goes along, and before the next expansion. I'm very excited about the idea of Guild Wars going to a place where we have a new expansion coming up soon, and a really robust, well-implemented legendary armory that makes the game feel full of opportunity and long-term goals for people. That could be the healthiest place that the game has been in for years and years. So, really looking forward to that. I will see you guys for another video very soon, where I talk a little bit about the new missions they've added, which I'm thoroughly impressed with, and the new stuff in the Eye of the North. So, hopefully you guys enjoy that. Thanks very much for watching. I do want to say about the Solaris videos as well. I've actually had 20 of them ready to go, but because I've been away for a bit this week, they've been really splotchy with the uploads. They'll continue like normal now. So, if you're really enjoying those, thanks very much, and I'll probably put the next one up like in 2 seconds. So, you can enjoy that. Click that on the end slate if you like. Until next time, guys, take it easy.